I was off at university. I started university, got out of my negative environment, was really, really happy, fresh start. About a month into my schooling, started getting really sick, noticed that my stomach was bloating and didn't know why, what was happening. I came up for Thanksgiving weekend back home to visit my family, and my mom was like, you need to go to the doctor, something's not right. You know, I think a mother always knows. And so I went to the hospital. At that point, my stomach was really distended. And basically, make a long story short, you know, the doctors came back and did tell me that indeed I had, you know, ovarian cancer, third stage of ovarian cancer. So in that moment, I think I did what anybody would do. I just burst into tears because I was so sick at the time. I felt, okay, my parents are going to watch me waste away, and I'm gonna end up dying. That was my initial thought. 19 years old, you know, and having everything swept away. So talk about thinking about your life as a write-off. I was like, okay, this is probably going to be it. But then I said, okay, what's the next thing I can do, the only thing I can do in this moment, because no one can really help me. I felt like no one can really help me and see into me. I had to call out to God, and I was just like, you know, Jesus Christ, I'm sick, can you help me? And at that point, can't really explain what happened, but I felt this incredible rush of peace go from like the crown of my head all the way down to the sole of my feet, just the peace of God. And it was like I was crying in one instant, and then I sobered up, and I was I felt okay, and it was like I had this assurance in my spirit that you know, that this sickness wasn't unto death but for the glory of God. And so I did end up going through the chemotherapy and the surgery, and I lost all my hair, and I did all those things happened. But there was just like this resiliency in me that could only come from God. And I could say that those days were actually probably, in a strange way, sweeter than my life outside of that, because I was able to really pursue God and have him speak to me on such a direct level. And it was so funny how, you know, I had to go for surgery, and right before I went for my surgery, all those things, all those expectations and those things that you think about yourself in that moment when, you know, you're getting the anesthesia and the doctor's patting you on the head and you're about to go out for surgery, they all kind of just fade away and melt away, and they don't matter. And all that matters at that moment is Christ, you know what I mean? Because he is my life, you know what I mean? And what happens after this, you know, will all depend on my relationship with him. So important. And so basically, that was about 8 years ago. So I'm giving my age. I'm 27, and I'm healed of cancer. And I can't say that I would actually trade that experience, because it just brought me more into the presence and glory of God. But I will say this, that going into having cancer, and I'm going to say this because a lot of times I think a lot of people are so amazed that she had cancer and she survived, but this was actually the greater work. I had negative thoughts and negative schemas and different ways of thinking in my head, and cancer didn't heal that, but I heard God saying to me in that time, okay, so now this chemotherapy and the surgery, and I'm working in this way to heal you, and you're going to be healed, but there's some other heart conditions, Shayvon. There's ways that you're thinking about yourself. I don't want you walking through this life like that, because you're my child, and I love you, and there's all these gifts and talents, and the reason why you're here is because I love you. So now you got to let me work on those cancerous things and destroy those cancerous things, because wrong thoughts about yourself, different things that people have spoken to you, will grow and fester, and they'll become cancers that are destroying your soul and your spirit, or addictions, you know, as Rainer was saying, or whatever it is, whatever those blocks are, they are cancers. And if you don't get the Holy Spirit on those things to destroy those things, they'll rob you of the life that God intended for you to have. And so in the days and weeks to come, and in those months where I was kind of home on my own, you know what I mean? Because life goes on. Even if you get sick, it still goes on. But I was kind of home alone. God started to work on me and tell me, you know, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. You know what I mean? And I even know all the hairs on your head are numbered. You're loved unconditionally. You are worthy. All these kind of things. He just kept speaking over and over and over into my life until those thoughts and God's thoughts for me started to replace man's thoughts and society's thoughts and the negative things that were spoken over me. And that's why I'm able to like sit here today, you know, alive physically and alive spiritually. Yeah, so that's my story. Yeah.